So welcome to Reader Questions with Sheila. It's Ask Sheila Day, and we're actually going to ask Sheila and Rebecca today because I am at my daughter Rebecca's house. I have been, like, I don't know if you can see all this, but I have been priming kitchen cupboards.
Yeah, we have to redo our kitchen because it looks nasty, and we have renters coming in, so yeah.
Yes, so we've been all here on a big work beat, hence the ugly t-shirt that I got paint on. But we are going to answer a question because here at summer is always when people do home renovations, and summer is also when people are visiting. And so I had an interesting reader question, which I don't actually know what the answer is, and we haven't practiced this, so we're just gonna discuss this. But the woman is saying, okay, look, when I married my husband, he had grown kids, and they were living with the various partners, and when they were just living with various partners, we didn't let them sleep in the same room when they visited, but then eventually kids were born, and eventually they did get married, but in the interim after kids came, they just let them sleep in the same room. But she felt like maybe she was letting go of her morals, and I mean, seriously, and I think she has a point here, like, marriage should have its privileges. Yeah, like, I mean, it's like, does marriage even mean anything anymore if we do that? But then she's saying, she's just wondering if she's being too much of a prude, and she had a friend who was going to visit. The friend is older, I think in her 50s, living with someone, and the friend ended up staying at a resort next door to their cottage instead of staying at their cottage because she thinks that she knew it would have been an issue. So she's saying, am I just being a prude? So I thought that since this is often a question that applies to people your age, when people your age are living with people, like, what do parents do when their kids are living with someone and they visit the house?
Yeah, it's hard. I guess because the question has to be, like, first of all, I guess the main question is, like, what is that person's morals too, right? If someone is a Christian, and then they start living with their significant other, that's a very easy open way to a conversation, right? Like, okay, you say that you're a Christian. This is what the Bible says. So why, if you say you believe this, are you acting differently? Like, that's already a conversation that's pretty easy to have. But the problem is, like, what if you're a parent who doesn't have kids who are Christians, and then they have significant others, and they are common law couples, or they're just living together, something like that? It does get a little bit trickier. I do think that there's a good question is also how old is a kid? Like, there's very different between an 18-year-old who goes off to college for the first time, comes back 3 weeks later with a live-in boyfriend, and like someone who's 27, a professional in their field, who has been living with the same guy for like 4 years. And
I think that's what I would say. I think that when your kids are still young and establishing themselves, if they have a significant other that they frequently live with or sleep with or whatever, I think it's okay to say.
Well, I think if they're sleeping together but not living together, it's perfectly fine to say not the same room because they don't live together.
That's true. Yes.
I think that that's totally different. I think that once they've moved in, and then that's when the gray area happens. Like, if you're not living together, then why the heck do you need to sleep in the same bed when you visit your parents' house?
Yes.
Like, that's just, most of the time you don't sleep in the same bed, so that's fine. But, like, I think it's when they actually move in together that line gets a little bit grayer.
Yeah, and I think, like, if it were my kid and my kid were like 21 or 22, I would say still separate rooms. But there comes a point where your child knows what you think. And if you want to keep that open relationship, I'm kind of the opinion that you can't expect people who aren't Christians to act like Christians. Yeah,
no, exactly. And I also think that Christians often focus so much on what people should be doing.
Yeah.
And they don't often bring it back on what it would feel like if that happened to them. Like the question I would ask is really what that feels like to the persons they're saying, you don't approve of my relationship. That's what it sounds like. So what if you went to a friend's house who didn't like your husband and said, well, I'd prefer if you guys weren't in the same room.
Yeah.
Like, I'm uncomfortable letting you sleep in the same room because they don't like your husband. How would that feel?
Yeah.
Because that is what it is.
That's how they feel.
That's how they feel. But that's how they feel.
Yeah.
It has the same emotional impact. I really do think it does.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what we as Christians need to remember is that just because we feel like they should be doing something doesn't mean that gives us the right to tell them how they should be living their lives.
But what if it's in our house, though? This is I guess what people are getting at. I mean, personally, I think if it's an in-law situation or close friends and they're not Christian, and they live together, I actually would not have a big problem. If it's like a peer, you know? The question really, with kids, I would have more of an issue.
Yeah, with kids, I think it's more of a gray area. Like, for me, like, we have a lot of friends who aren't married and are living together, and they live out of town. And if they ever come in, we always tell them you have a place to stay. Like, that's totally fine. Because we figure it's more important for them to have friends in their lives who are Christians who love them and show them hospitality than it is for them to know that we disapprove of them sleeping in the same bed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, where's that
because they probably already know anyway.
Well, yeah, and like, the thing that I always said is like, I think about when I think about this too, is that, you know, we always say, well, Jesus hung out with like prostitutes, Jesus hung out with tax collectors, but he didn't say you have to stop being a prostitute before you hang out with Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? And it just feels like, obviously he wouldn't have been like, you know, in all of it, but like, you know, he wouldn't have done the swindling that tax collectors did, or he wouldn't have endorsed any of that, but it also, they came to him as they were, and he accepted them as they were. Yeah. That you could accept someone and not endorse their behavior, right?
But and that's the question, is it endorsing the behavior? And I guess my mindset is, you know, here's people that you love, and they're acting in such a way that you don't approve of. But what is the most important thing here? What is the key thing that you want to get out of this? Because for me, and we've been in situations like this with in-laws that were more peers, not children, but more peers. And for us, what we really wanted to do is preserve the relationship. And we wanted them to feel totally comfortable in our home. That was where interesting conversations happened. You know, we wanted to feel like they really knew that we loved them, and that we were a safe place.
Well, and if you're not a Christian, who are you going to talk to? The Christian who does everything in their power to control your behavior and make sure that you don't do anything that seems wrong, sorry. Or do you want to like go to the Christian with the hard questions when you're in a hard time, who, you know that they have a different life than you. You know that they're different from you. You know that they think that some of the things that you do aren't helpful. Yeah. But they still love you and they accept you. Like I had friends in university who were, you know, living with their significant other. I had a couple friends in the university who were living with their same-sex significant other, and they talked to me openly about it. And like I would say, like, because this is when me and my husband were engaged. Like, my fiance and I aren't living together because, you know, we're Christians, and I believe that we shouldn't be doing that until marriage, and that's our value system. And they were fine with that. And then we continued having a relationship. And they knew that I didn't approve of the individual things they were doing. Yeah. But they also, because I was okay with them as people, even though they were doing those things, and the conversations weren't me trying to convince them not to do those things. It's, you're allowed to put your opinion forward without it dictating what other people do. Like,
and I think the thing you do is you put your opinion forward, but you don't say that they have to act on it, and as long as they know the opinion. So if I can sum up here, what I would say is, as a mom, if it's my kids and they're younger, young adults, they're not established yet, and you know they're sleeping with their significant other, they do not do that in my home. Once they've been established and they are living with someone for several years, I just don't see the point in separating them. I think when you do that, they're just less likely to come home.
Or less likely to talk to you about things.
Yeah, they are. They really are. And at some point, you've got to accept who they are. And I think preserving the relationship is more important. And that's kind of how I see it with other people too. Yeah. You know, and it is too bad.
It really is.
It's because sad. I do think marriage should have its privileges. I really do. But for me, the main thing is always, how can I preserve the relationship? And honestly, people know what you think anyway. It's not like you have to take this big stand. And I think that's where we sometimes go wrong, is we think, well, I'll be being hypocritical. But you're not being hypocritical. If you didn't sleep with your spouse before marriage, or even if you did, but if you believe that's wrong.
Yeah, like if you repented and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever. Like whatever. If you're
doing the best to live your morals yourself, you're not a hypocrite. We are not responsible for other people's behaviors. It is difficult when you feel like you're endorsing it, and the reality is, like, if it's their choice, it's their choice.
It's their choice. And
you can offer them separate rooms. Dude, they could always offer them separate rooms.
And actually that's interesting, because if you do, sometimes they'll take it because they don't want you to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, and sometimes also it's kind of nice to not have to share a bed.
Yeah, so anyway, I guess that doesn't really answer that really well, but I think what I would just encourage everyone to do is just say, what is the best way that I can preserve the relationship? Because seriously, they know what you think. They really do. They know what you think. You're not being a hypocrite, because being a hypocrite is how you act, not how other people act around you. So you're not being a hypocrite. Just think of what you should do to preserve the relationship. And that's what I do. That's what I've done in the past. And I'm just really glad I never had to deal with this with you and Katie. So thank you for that. Okay, we're going to go paint some more.
Woo!
So, we'll see you later.
Bye.